Jack Ebling here with Dan Kilbridge for Spartan Tailgate and 24/7 Sports. After yet another Michigan State green and white game, your reactions to the game, Dan?
Kind of hard to tell in these things, but I thought the passing game looked pretty well, particularly Kirk Cousins. I thought he was maybe the standout guy at the scrimmage with some of those balls he was able to throw after struggling in the first two scrimmages. So I liked watching Cousins play. I thought he did a really nice job today.
A lot of depth on the receiving core. We saw how important Deion Sims can be. Some of the wideouts had good games. Christy Rucker again, Mr. Spring comes through, so a lot to be said for that. You don't know with the spring game, when there's a big play on the offense, is that great for the offense or bad for the defense?
It is, like you said, hard to tell. I think individuals you can watch and get a good feel for. And I think Tony Lippett made a lot of really nice plays on defense and offense. I mean, he was the guy who really stood out. Having not had much experience at either of those positions this spring, sort of going 50-50, I thought he really played well, and that's what I was kind of watching, those individual guys to see who stood out there.
I thought that Johnny Adams made some nice plays when he went in the backfield and hunted down Keyshawn Martin. I hope he doesn't have to cover Draymond Green too often. Kind of a mismatch on that. But the guys seemed to have a lot of fun today. You could see the reaction when Arthur Ray came in the game, and of course Draymond Green going out there after one practice. So it was that kind of game, and you just hope they can get through something like this without a lot of injuries. They did have one significant injury this week in the secondary.
Yeah, Jarius Jones, safety, is going to be out for an extended period of time with an Achilles injury. D'Antonio said it's not completely out of the question that he could return for the fall season, said that Jones is a quick healer. And Lewis has taken over that starting role there, but Jones was very important in their plans. He was going to be the nickel back, or he was going to switch over to safety and have Lewis be the nickel back in those third and long packages, so they're going to have to adjust there. But today it was pretty injury-free. Darquez Denard got a little banged up at corner, but returned. So overall, as Pat Narduzzi said, the number one thing with these games is try to get out healthy.
I had a chance to talk to Isaiah Lewis after the game, and he said that they can work this out with Mylon Hicks doing the same thing that Jones did. And Lewis had a chance to talk with Jarius Jones after the surgery. And he said, hey, I'm a quick healer. I'll be back faster than 4 months. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and I think Lewis was pretty impressive today. He had one play where Deion Sims had that long touchdown pass, just kind of bounced right off him. But that's a big 280-pound guy coming at you that can move. That's going to be a tough play for anyone to make. And I thought Deion Sims, I mean, he was excellent after missing the entire year, caught 2 touchdown passes, showed good hands and footwork like he always has, and he really gave the white team some trouble.
Offensive line play depends so much on cohesion, chemistry, timing. Almost impossible to get that when you have an injured unit and you split it in half, and you have guys who, frankly, are never going to see the field here in a regular game out there playing a lot today. But you saw, again, what Jarrell Worthy can do, and you saw what Anthony Rashad White can do. And people who remember him from last year as a part-time player, a guy who was a little overweight, struggling with the junior college adjustment, are going to be in for a shot.
Yeah, and people thought maybe they would be a little thin there with Blake Treadwell moving over to center, but that looks like it's working out pretty well. Treadwell has been working with the ones, and now you see the depth they're starting to get with those defensive tackles with Rashad White and Worthy. Both had some big hits. Le'Veon Bell said Rashad White stacks up to anyone in the Big Ten that he faced last year, especially on that 4th and 1 play where he kind of stuffed Le'Veon behind the line. So some really good things from those two. And neither quarterback would say, well, I didn't have enough time today, or I had a lot of hands in my face. It is tougher on the quarterbacks when you've got the depleted offensive lines, but I think they did relatively well given all we know about the injuries up front there.
Dan, I know we're going to have a lot of time to talk about this, but let's look ahead to the actual season and the way it shapes up. What did we learn from the spring, and what does it portend for the fall?
I think we learned that Michigan State has a lot of depth, and maybe more so than D'Antonio's had in his tenure in East Lansing. That's what you see with the even player draft. You see position battles very close across the board, and that is how you consistently compete for Big Ten championships. You build that depth. Now it becomes a matter of using that talent the right way, figuring out the guys you're going to go with, and staying injury-free as always. But overall, I think this was a positive spring for MSU, and they can take a lot of good away from it.
My 42nd spring game and going through the mental library, I don't recall a team where Michigan State had as many players in the 2s and 3s who could step onto the field and you wouldn't swallow hard and think, well, you know, can they get by with this? I think Michigan State, depending on how the Stars perform, could be in position to be one of the surprise teams.
Yeah, absolutely. That could be predicted towards maybe the top 1 or 2 with some talent coming back from some other schools. But I think really this is the year where they do want to take that step and show that they can put back-to-back successful seasons together, which has been such a hard thing for the Spartans to do over the years. And I think this is the year they'll have a good shot to do it.
Michigan State has a history, a trend, of having good things happen with fifth-year quarterbacks. Michigan State in position to do that. Has a lot of people stacked up at the skilled positions at running back, at wide receiver, even tight end we saw again today with Deion Sims back showing what he can do. So if the line play can come through on offense, maybe the secondary doesn't suffer too much attrition. It could be a season to remember. We'll be back to talk much more about the 2011 football season. Here from Spartan Stadium after the green and white game, Jack Ebling and Dan Kilbridge for Spartan Tailgate and 24/7 Sports.